That gospel passage ranks pretty high in being among those that are my favorite, in large part because it's so conducive to an Ignatian form of contemplation wherein we apply our senses. In other words, we put ourselves there and we try to soak in the entire scene and try to make it real for ourselves. I'd like to lay out for you what I have ascertained as being perhaps 5 sets of pretty strong feelings that are a part of that scene, and then we'll try to apply them for our spiritual benefit here today. First of all, imagine, probably the occasion of the party was Lazarus having come back to life, having been brought back to life, and celebrating the one responsible for that, the person of Jesus. And so everybody was gathering in an atmosphere of celebration and, frankly, some amazement. But in the wake of what had transpired, there is one in the crowd who's particularly about serving, and that's Martha. The gospel says very clearly they gave a dinner for him there, and Martha served. And we know from elsewhere in the gospel that she probably couldn't rely much upon Mary's help in preparing the dinner and serving it, because Mary was about something different. I think this gospel passage presents one of the absolutely most sensuous scenes in Scripture. Imagine aromatic oil and being dried with a person's hair. That's pretty sensual, involving the entire person. And I can practically smell the smell of chrism. The other day I was with I forget exactly where I was, but Beverly Wink. It was the deanery meeting, the Lubbock deanery meeting. Beverly Wink was there, and we were talking about preparations for Holy Week. And she extended her hand and said, I was messing with the chrism, the oil for the chrism all day today. You could smell the aroma of the balsam that's a part of the distinctive aroma of chrism. So there's a sensuality involving the entire humanity of personhood at that party, at that dinner in the gospel. But then, of course, where good is at work, the evil one is always going to make his presence known. And there is an element of outrage. Judas would have nothing of the celebration, but instead carped at the waste of money at what was being done to and for Jesus. And ultimately, Jesus serves in his role as teacher, enlightening Judas and the entire crowd. So we've got amazement, service, sensuality, outrage, and enlightenment. As we move through these final days of Lent during this week we call Holy, will we allow ourselves to be engaged enough, to be amazed, to serve, to allow this to be a visceral celebration for us, involving our whole person, sensual, if you will? Will we be outraged, maybe appropriately or inappropriately? Will we allow ourselves to be enlightened? The enlightenment can come in the light of the Easter candle. The outrage can come at the injustice done to Jesus. And frankly, the sensuousness can come as we witness feet of our brothers and sisters being washed, and maybe, as we're going to do at the cathedral, make that foot washing available to the entire assembly. In other words, will we put our full being into the celebrations of this week, and especially the Triduum at the end? Well, as Jesus gives himself to us here under the form of consecrated bread and wine become his body and blood, why don't we ask him to fill us with the grace we need to be fully present and active in the mystery of salvation, that we will be remembering actively in the course of this week.